UFC side of things for a moment. UFC Fight Night, Gamrot versus Tsarukyan this past weekend, and Mateusz Gamrot, defeats Arman Tsarukyan by unanimous decision. Let's discuss this fight. Omar, what did you think of the performances of Gamrot and Tsarukyan? It was a close fight.
I thought it was a very, very close fight. I thought it was exactly the kind of fight we were going to get, to be honest. It was a grueling fight. The pace was stupid, and it never stopped. And it was a very, very grindy fight. Lots of scrambles, lots of reversals, lots of moments that can be argued as to why I would go one way or the other. I don't feel like it was a robbery by any stretch of the imagination. I did have Gamrot up 3-2, but had Tsarukyan won, I would not have been screaming robbery. So I was okay with it either way. That fight was pure madness.
Mark, what was your assessment of this fight?
What a high-level scrap that thing was. I mean, like, beyond impressive from both guys. Nothing particularly enormous happened in this fight, and it wasn't like some incredible brawl where they killed each other. But it had you riveted for every second that it went on, particularly because of the defensive wrestling and grappling from these two. Like, it was just insane. It was as if they had a contest to find a way for one to control the other, and they both just continually failed to find a way to do that. I've said it before, but this new wave of lightweights in the UFC right now, these two guys, Demiris Magulov, Guram Kutateladze, throw Rafael Fiziev in there if you want. Like, these guys are going to be a problem for the vets who have run this division for a while. These guys are high level.
Well said.
With all that said, the decision was tough for me for a couple reasons. The first and clearest of all is because, and maybe Omar disagrees, if you watch that fight, in my opinion, without scoring rounds, and you sit back and you say, who won that fight? I thought the answer was clearly Arman. Reason number 1,000,000 why I will continue to push for Pride-style scoring, even though I'm sure we'll never get it. But on top of that, the other reason the decision is tough for me is because I think Arman did win based on the rounds. I think Arman took rounds 1, 2, and 4 of that fight. And on top of that, I even think round 3 was really close. So we'll ignore round 3. I'll focus on 1, 2, and 4. I think everyone gave him 1 and 2. 4 seemed to be the toss-up round. My only thought is that the judges were maybe in a similar position to the commentators where they couldn't see it live that Arman dropped Gamrot with that spinning back fist, and they don't have the luxury of going back to the monitors to see, which again brings me back to my idea that I brought up last week of whether judges should just be watching the broadcast video and not a live fight where they may miss things, because Paul Felder was saying it out loud that none of the announcers saw that Tsarukyan dropped him. They all thought Gamrot slipped. So my thought is that maybe they couldn't see it either, and that's why that round got scored for Gamrot, because if you can see it, I don't know how you don't score that round for Tsarukyan. It was pretty damn close otherwise. So I thought the card should have gone Arman's way. I'm not saying it's like a horrible robbery. It was a close competitive fight. I'm fine. As much as I thought 3 was close, I'm fine with Gamrot getting it. Gun to my head, I think I do give it to him. He did win 5. I get it that 4 was tight. I just think it should have gone to Arman. But with all that said, first off, Arman is 25. He's got plenty of time. He will find a way to rebound. Second off, Mateusz Gamrot looked incredible, whether I scored it for him or not. He was losing that fight on the feet, and he found a way to mix in just enough grappling against Arman freaking Tsarukyan, of all people, to steal that fight. And Gamrot is a wizard of a grappler, and he is going to give a lot of trouble to whoever he gets in there with next. So props to him, regardless of what I think the scoring should have been. Obviously an enormous win for his career.
I think it's definitely appropriate for both of these gentlemen to be treated by the UFC as though they won. Because I think the stock of both of them continues to rise, because they both keep showcasing that they are high-level talents in the lightweight division. That being said, let's start with the actual winner of this fight, Mateusz Gamrot, Give me a name, Mark. There's he's both these guys, but now especially Gamrot are really getting up there into the upper echelon of arguably the best division in MMA. So where do you see Gamrot going next in terms of his next opponent?
I will take his name. He called out Justin Gaethje, and man, would I love if that actually happened. I said it on here after Justin lost to Charles that I think Justin is kind of in the perfect spot now, having lost 2 title shots. The guy that he is, I think he is the perfect guy to test some of these young guys, and I think this lines up now. I think that's the fight to make. It's crazy intriguing to think about all the different ways they match up with each other, and I would love to see that fight.
Omar?
Just to throw another name in the hat there, I actually think it would be a super interesting fight with Beneil Dariush. I don't really know what the hell is going on with the top of that division. Islam is like, I'm waiting. Beneil's like, I'm waiting. You can't have 2 guys waiting for the same goddamn thing. They should probably fight at this point.
Beneil did say he would fight Poirier for what it's worth. Granted, I don't know if Poirier is trying to do that.
Yeah. I think stylistically, Gamrot versus Dariush is just super interesting. I personally can't see Dariush accepting a fight like that, especially with where he is and taking a guy, moving up the ranks and quite handily at that. But I still maintain that that's a hell of a fight.
Any names you guys want to throw out there for Arman Tsarukyan?
Yeah, I think the loser of this RDA versus Fiziev fight coming up works, especially if it's RDA. I think that would be a fantastic matchup for Arman. Get him in there across from a name who, if he beats, all of a sudden his standing is solidified. It works as well if it's Fiziev, but I feel like it's a little more of a marquee if it ends up him and RDA.
Both great fights. Any other names?
But it would have to be the loser. I think it's tough to ask the winner of that fight to fight Arman.
Sure.
The winner of that fight's going to go up.
Just to throw another couple names out there, they're just stylistically, I think, interesting. I don't know if the timing necessarily works super well or if the juice is worth the squeeze, so to say, but just fights I think I would love to watch. Tsarukyan versus Ismagulov, I think would be crazy. And also, I think it would be interesting to see him against Gregor Gillespie. I know we talked about Gregor getting another fight, I don't know, a few weeks ago. I don't even remember who it was against.
Against Ismagulov. That's what we were talking about.
Oh, well, there you go. But I think Tsarukyan would also be a fun fight against Gillespie as well.